Get Sirach 11 and 25. Yes, he's going to put us through trials, but also he's going to redeem us from those trials and those adversities too.
The book of Sirach.
Because no trial or no chastening is for your destruction. All of it is to get us better.
The book of Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 25. In the day of prosperity.
And the day of prosperity, when you're doing good, when you're on that high mountain, when you're on the up and up,
there is a forgetfulness of affliction.
You forget all the bad stuff that happened to you. You're not thinking about when you was broke. You're not thinking about when your leg was broken, when your wife left you, when your husband cheated on you. You're not thinking about that. Because now you living on high. You're living good.
And in the day of affliction.
And in the day of affliction, when you're down,
there is no remembrance of prosperity.
You're not remembering that prosperity. You're not remembering everything the Most High did to you. And this scripture right here is showing there's always going to be ups and downs. And how we are as a people, we automatically, when stuff goes bad, we forget the good. When stuff goes good, we forget the bad. We got a short-term memory when it comes to stuff like that. So when one bad thing happens to you in your life, you forget all the good the Most High did for you for the past couple of years or the past couple months. It just goes out the window. Yeah, what's going on here too. That's why you got to make sure you stay grounded in the scriptures to keep your mind straight, to keep your mind on the scriptures and the commandments. That's why it's got to be your foundation. Keep reading.
For it is an easy thing unto the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways.
So, read that again.
For it is an easy thing.
For it is an easy thing
unto the Lord,
for the Most High God,
in the day of death,
when you die,
to reward a man according to his ways.
How is the Most High going to reward you when you die? Brother Shalamiah. How is the Most High going to reward you when you die?
He's going to reward you with eternal life.
With eternal life. So that's why we still got to stick to the commandments. No matter what we're going through, we always got to keep that end objective in our mind. You always got to have it on your mind. All right, read verse. That's it. Go to 1 Maccabees 2 and 51. We're going to see some examples of our forefathers who went through trials, and the Most High did not forget them. The Most High never forsake them. 1 Maccabees 2, verse 51.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 51. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
This is basically, not paraphrasing because Romans came after, but this is basically Romans 15 and 4. Read it again.
Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and everlasting name.
Be reading.
Was not Abraham found faithful in intention?
And temptation. Were you reading 6 and 11?
Yeah.
It says, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? What is that talking about right here? Soldier, person. What is this talking about right here? Read it again for him.
Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness?
So how was Abraham tempted? And how did it turn into him gaining righteousness and favor with the Most High God?
Genesis 26 and 5. Genesis 26 and 5.
Nah, that's not it.
22 and 5.
Yeah. Let's start at verse 2. Yeah. Yeah. Start at verse 1. Yeah, 22 and 1.
Book of Genesis, chapter 22 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham. And said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac.
So he said, take your son, your only son Isaac,
whom thou lovest,
and get
thee in the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of.
So the Most High God just told Abraham, you guys know, the Most High God just told Abraham to take your only son, who thou lovest, I know you love him, and offer him up as an offering for me. Let's see what Abraham did. Did he listen to the Most High God? Let's keep reading and see.
Verse 3.
Uh-huh.
And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass.
So the next morning, the next day, keep reading.
And saddled his ass.
Uh-huh.
And took 2 of his young men with him. And Isaac his son, and clave the wood of the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think Abraham might have felt a certain way? Do you think he was sad or confused? But he still listened to the Most High God, right? He still followed through. That's that faith. That's trusting in the Most High God. Keep reading.
Verse 5. And Abraham said unto his young men.
Go down to verse 6.
Verse 6. And Abraham said unto his young men.
No, 6.
Verse 6.
Yeah.
And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son.
Oh.
And he took the fire in hand and a knife. And they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father.
So now Isaac's confused. He's confused with the offering at. He's like, hold up. Keep reading.
And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and wood. But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?
Because he's like, I know we about to sacrifice to the Most High, but where's the lamb at? Where's the lamb with no blemish? I don't see him.
And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering.
So Abraham still had faith in the Most High through all this, that he provided him a lamb for the offering. Keep going. So he still didn't tell him what was going to happen.
So they went both of them together.
Uh-huh.
And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood.
So now he's bounding Isaac to the wood. And Isaac, he isn't fighting, he isn't going against it, because he sees if he was following the Most High too. So he knows if it's the Most High's will, we're going to continue with this. That just shows that Abraham was teaching his family the laws, and he was righteous. Keep reading.
Verse 10.
Uh-huh.
And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son.
So just when he was getting ready to stab his son, to slit his throat.
And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am.
So last second, the angel of the Lord called Abraham. Literally last second before he killed his son.
And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him.
Uh-huh.
For now I know that thou...
Read that, the first part.
And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know... For now. So this was a trial for Abraham too, to see what he was going to do. For now. That's him getting tried by the crooked ways. Read that. For now, I know that thou fearest God. Now he knows that thou fearest God. But he had to get put through that trial first to see what was he going to do in that situation.
Yep. And can you imagine the discipline it took for Isaac just to lay there? If my son was right there, Joe, I can't even blow his nose. No, but seriously though, this shows the discipline that Abraham instilled in his son. And that's the example that we have to follow. Because give me Genesis 18 and 19.
If it was Georgia, you got the hard time.
Yeah, I would. Literally. Go ahead.
Book of Genesis, chapter 18 and verse 19. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord.
You see, the way, those are the laws. So Abraham had his kids disciplined in the laws. So that's an example, and he's laid the foundation on how we should be raising our kids.
Yeah.
Real quick, how many of us in here have had to sacrifice a son, a mother, a father, friends, family members? So y'all thinking physically, but when you don't go to the house for Christmas anymore, you don't go to the house for Thanksgiving, you tearing down that relationship that you had with somebody who raised you, that you've been with for 40, 50, sometimes 60 years. That's a sacrifice. I got an oldest son that many of y'all probably don't know. I had to sacrifice him. Love him to death, but I'm not going to put him before the Most High. That's my trial. The Bible says prove a friend. You think the Most High not proving us? Your reward is eternal life. You can't just give that to somebody. You got to make sure they deserve it. So I'm going to put you through a couple things. And it's slight. We here on this earth, 70, 80. If you're doing great, maybe 100 years. That's nothing. That's a blink of an eye. These are small things, and we got to make sure that we look at it like that. You can't let these small trials every day cost you eternal life. It's just not worth it.
Not at all. Read the end of 12 again. For now. Verse 12, 22 and 12.
The book of Genesis. For now I know that thou fearest God.
That was the Most High God proving Abraham, seeing what he's going to do with that trial.
Seeing thou hast not withheld thy son.
Seeing that you would even sacrifice your son for me. That's how faithful Abraham was to the Most High God.
Thine only son from me.
Uh-huh.
And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns.
So now a ram just happened to be caught in some bushes. Now, so you know that's from the Most High right there.
And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son.
Okay, let's go back to 2 Maccabees. So now we've seen Abraham, the Most High didn't forsake him. He didn't forget him in his time of his trial and his affliction. 2 Maccabees 2 and 53 now.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 53. Joseph, in the time of his distress.
Joseph, in the time of his distress.
Kept the commandment.
Always kept the commandments.
And was made Lord of Egypt.
Joseph went from being almost killed by his brothers to sold into slavery to being the second ruler in Egypt. And as you know, back then Egypt just wasn't a little country. Egypt was all of Africa. So Joseph became the second ruler in Egypt from being a slave to that. Because what? He kept the commandments and he didn't lose faith in the Most High God. Now where can we find that in the scriptures, the story of Joseph? Brother Simon. Brother Simon. All right, let's start chapter 37. Let's start at verse. Start at verse 1. Verse 2.
The book of Genesis, chapter 37 and verse 2. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph being 17 years old.
So all this first happened when Joseph was 17 years old. And also, another point I want to bring out, for people that show their children movies like Prince of Egypt or Dream of Joseph, make sure you go over the biblical story with your children too, just to show them the differences from the movie and what the scriptures actually say. Because of course they're good because they show people the color, it's animation, it's captivating to the children, but make sure you show them where the movie veers off from the scriptures. That's important. Because in the movie they got his mother giving him his coat instead of his father, and they add another dream in the movie that wasn't in the scriptures. So you want to make sure that that's brought out clear to them. Go to the verse 3.
Verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all of his brethren, they hated him.
They hated Joseph.
And could not speak peaceably unto him.
So they couldn't even talk to their brother without cursing him out or having something smart to say. How so much they hated their brother.
And Joseph. And Joseph dreamed a dream. And he told his brethren, and they hated him yet the more.
So they hated Joseph also because he dreamt dreams too. Of course, the Most High was dealing with him, but his brothers, they had that envy towards him.
And he said unto them, Here, I pray you.
Go down to verse 9.
Verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me.
Obeisance, that means giving honor, bowing down. And at this time, Joseph didn't know this was a prophetic dream for him and his brothers. And guess what? They hated him even more for the dream. Keep reading.
And he told it to his father and his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee?
So since he said that, what does the sun, moon, and the stars represent then? If Israel just said that, who does that represent? Brother James? James? Gad, brother Gad. Shalom.
Represents the 12 tribes of Israel.
Represents the 12 tribes of Israel. And the precept for that, just write that down. Revelations 2, 12, Revelation 12 and 1. Revelation 12 and 1, write that down. And Proverbs 6 and 23. For the wisdom and understanding. Write that down. All right, go to verse 11.
Verse 11. And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same.
So his brothers envy him, but his father still being spared. He still thought about it. He was like, dang, that might mean something right there. Because he knew the Most High was dealing with him. All right. Go down to 37 and 25. So this is after they already tied him up, put him in a hole. Some of the brothers wanted to kill him, some of them wanted to sell him. But this is ultimately what they decided on.
Verse 25.
So just like we said, we all go through our trials and all of us have to purify ourselves. Our forefathers, they weren't perfect at the time either. They still went through the trials too. They still battled with sin. All of our forefathers did. But they were still righteous men because what? They always went back to the commandments. They repented from their wicked ways, and the goal was to get the kingdom. That's why you can't just say like people say about David. They said David was a whoremonger and a murderer. The Most High was still dealing with him. He still repented of his sins, and the Most High loved him. So who are you to say something about who the Most High loves? What about you? What about stuff that you've done? So people always got to remember that, because a lot of people try to throw our forefathers' names under the bus. Mostly are people who aren't repented yet. They're the main ones that try to throw that to say that they can continue to sin too. They try to use that as an excuse to be in continual sin. Read 25.
Verse 25.
And
they sat down to eat bread.
And
they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites.
So a company of Arabs
came from Gilead, and their camels bearing spicery and balmy and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren.
And Judah said to his brethren,
What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood?
So he's thinking, what is it going to do for us? How is it going to benefit us if we just kill him and hide his blood? We're not getting none out of that. This is what we should do. Keep reading.
Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him.
So let not our hand be upon him, because he didn't want to have that guilt on his name. He didn't want to have that sin on him that he killed his brother. But he still hated them enough to still sell him. And he wanted the money too. Because he seen they were merchants, they had that bag. Keep reading.
For he is our brother, in our flesh. And his brethren were content.
They were content, like, yeah, we can come up off him right now. And also we won't be sinning by killing him. So it's a win-win for us. That's what they're thinking. Keep reading.
Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver.
20 pieces of silver.
And they brought Joseph into Egypt.
Okay, go to Genesis 39, verse 3, verse 1. So, he went from being sold to the Ishmaelites, who were going to Egypt. That's how Joseph got into Egypt. So let's see what happened after his brother sold him off.
The book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 1.
Now, in this whole situation, what did Joseph do to deserve any of this? Did he do any sin to deserve this? Did he do any evil against his brother? So why was he going through this? But why? Because the Most High was proving him. The Most High was trying to purify him. That's why he put him through all of this. Read that 39 and 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 39 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And Joseph was brought down to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard of an Egyptian,
So he was sold to the captain of the guard.
bought him of the hand of the Ishmaelites, which he had bought him down thither.
So he's getting passed down again. And Ishmael came up because they probably sold him for double of what they paid for him.
And the Lord was with Joseph,
Uh-huh.
and he was a prosperous man.
And the Lord was with Joseph, even in captivity, and he was a prosperous man.
And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian.
Uh-huh.
And his master saw that the Lord was with him.
He what?
His master saw that the Lord was with him.
So this might happen on your job. Your boss might not say that, but your boss will see that you do differently than the rest of your coworkers. Or if it's an Edomite or heathen, they might say, in their head, this nigga is different from the rest of them. And he'll deal with you differently. And how do you do that? By the way you carry yourself, the way you act, the way you speak, the way you dress, the way how you conduct yourself in a public setting. You're on time, you're respectful, you follow the rules, you're a good worker, you're not lazy. Keep reading.
And his master saw that the Lord was with him,
Uh-huh.
and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand.
So Potiphar, he saw that anything Joseph did, it was multiplied. Everything he did was good. Keep going.
And Joseph found grace in his sight.
So Joseph found grace in his sight. How? Through the Most High God.
And he served him.
Uh-huh.
And he made him overseer over his house.
Uh-huh.
And all that he had, he put in his hand.
Okay. Go down to verse 7. So now let's see. So he moved from being real low, brought up high. Now let's see what's going to happen. Now if he got brought up high, let's see what happens. This is the Sirach 11 and 25. It's going to be seasons. It's always going to be seasons. Read verse 7.
Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things
So after some time,
that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph.
that Potiphar's wife, she was feeling Joseph. She wanted him.
And she said, lie with me.
And she came straight up. She just want smack. Lie with me. She didn't even cut. She didn't even try to flirt with him. Got straight to the point. Go ahead.
But he refused.
And he said, nah.
And said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in his house.
Uh-huh.
And he hath committed all that he hath to my hand.
So my master gave me access to everything in his house. Everything.
There is none greater in this house than I.
I'm the second in command in this house.
Neither hath he kept back anything from me.
So that means all of his flocks, his servants, his food, his wine, his treasures, all that. Joseph had a part of all of that.
But thee,
But thee, why?
because thou art his wife.
That's the only thing he held back. That's his wife. Now, let's see why Joseph didn't want to do this.
How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?
And sin against God. Joseph was still keeping the commandments even in captivity. He knew it was a sin to sleep, first of all, with another man's wife, but still have sex out of wedlock too. So that would have been two things he would have been doing. Adultery and fornication.
And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day.
So every day, she's trying him, going at him. She's like, what's up with it? She's pulling up her dress when he walked by, winking at him when no one's looking. Yeah. You gotta imagine where he's going from day by day. Read that, verse 10.
And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day,
Uh-huh.
that he hearkened not unto her.
He wasn't falling for it. He wasn't falling for her whorish ways.
To lie by her,
Uh-huh.
or to be with her.
Or to be even around her.
And it came to pass about this time
So Joseph, he wasn't during that trial. He wasn't falling for that BS.
that Joseph went into the house
Mm-hmm.
to do his business.
To do his work, whatever he had to do.
And there was none of the men of the house there within.
But all the men were gone. So do you think this was a coincidence, or do you think the Most High had this orchestrated? The Most High had this orchestrated. Let's see what's going to happen.
And she caught him by the garment,
She caught Joseph.
saying, lie with me.
You're going to do me now.
And he left his garment in her hand,
And he shed his garment, ran away,
and fled,
and fled.
and got him out.
He got feet. He did. He wasn't messing with none of that. He was like,
And it came to pass.
And it came to pass.
When she saw that he had lifted his garment in her hand.
Damn.
And was fled forth.
The devious woman.
And she called upon the men of her house, and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us.
Saying, look what your master did. He brought in this Hebrew into our house, and look what he tried to do to me.
He came in unto me to lie with me. And I cried with a loud voice.
And a lot of brothers, I know this happened to you in the world too. You might have had a friend at the time who was dating or talking to somebody, and that girl might have wanted you, but because you didn't want her, she was going to try to sow discord between you and your friend. That happens in the world too.
And it came to pass, when he heard that I lift up my voice and cried, and he left his garment with me.
So she's just blatantly lying right now, lying on the man.
That he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until her Lord came home.
So she laid that joint up to make it look like a crime scene. To make him feel bad. Keep going. Like a CSI.
And she spake unto him according to these words.
And she's saying these words purposely because she knows it's going to affect him. Trying to make him upset.
Saying, the Hebrew servant.
The Hebrew servant, because he's not Egyptian. First of all, he's a foreigner.
The Hebrew servant which thou hast brought unto us.
Which you brought unto our house.
Came in unto me to mock me.
He came to try to have sex with me, to try to rape me.
And it came to pass as I lifted up my voice and cried, and he left his garment with me and fled out.
So she got the whole story set up now. And she knows that's going to press his buttons. Because she's like, damn, I put my trust in this man. I gave him everything. And he still went after my wife. Keep going. That shows you how devious some woman can be. Keep reading.
And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled.
He was upset. He was very mad.
And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound.
So question, what did Joseph do for this to happen to him? What was he doing that made this happen to him? Brother right there. What was he doing while this trial came upon him? Shalom, what's your name, bro? Isaiah, what was Joseph doing? Why?
He was in captivity.
Okay.
At this point in time, he was trying to obey God, make sure that he was not going to disobey God.
Right. So he was keeping the commandments. So of course, like we read earlier, if you're keeping the commandments, you're going to get tried. So that's why this came upon him, because he was keeping the commandments. Keep reading.
And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in the prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
So even in prison now, he still got favor in the prison. Keep reading.
And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison.
So Joseph got locked up and became the chief jailer in that joint. That's not so bad. I mean, considering what could have been. So that's how you know the Most High was still dealing with him. This was still part of his trials. And the Most High still didn't forsake him. He didn't leave him. All right, let's skip forward. Let's go to Genesis 41 and 40.
The book of Genesis, chapter 41 and verse 40.
Actually, 36. 38.
Verse 38. And Pharaoh said unto his servants.
So this is after Joseph figured out they were going to have Pharaoh had a dream. Basically, it was going to be a famine. Well, 7 years of plentiful harvest and 7 years of famine. And Joseph concocted a plan, of course, with the Spirit of the Most High God, where they would have food to last them and they wouldn't die out during this famine. So now the Pharaoh's seen how the Most High God is still dealing with him. And this is after he was in prison. He decided some dreams for some people. It's a story y'all need to read from Genesis 37 and up. It's a lot of stories you have to read, but for time's sake, we're going to cut through. So read that again.
Verse 38.
And
Pharaoh said unto his servants, Can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? And Pharaoh said unto Joseph,
so basically he's saying, no, he's the only man that's like that. Another rhetorical question.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God has showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art.
So in the whole kingdom of Egypt, he recognized Joseph above all of his wise men. all of his astrologers, all of his fortune tellers, and all of his companions that was known as wise as him. Keep reading.
Thou shalt be over my house.
So he says straight up, you're going to be over my house.
And according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled.
So whatever you say goes. Whatever you say is law.
Only in the throne will I be greater than thou.
So only in the throne room will I be greater than you. So you handling all the affairs, you handling all the policies, all the government works, all the taxes, everything else. But only in the throne room, that's what I'm above you at. But everything else, you handle that. I'm putting that faith, that trust in you. I'm giving you that power.
And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen.
Got the fine linen, the fine garments.
And put a gold chain about his neck.
So that just showed you all the stuff that Joseph went through, from being his brothers tried to kill him, sold him into slavery. He became he was living in the chief captain of the guard's house. He was up high, got accused of rape, went into prison, became the chief jailer, got out of prison, and now he's second in command of Egypt. Because he never wavered. He always stood by the Most High's commandments. He never lost faith in him through all of his trials, because he didn't deserve it. He didn't do anything to deserve any of that, but keep the commandments. So that just shows you are going to go through trials. Great men are going to go through trials and adversity. There's no avoiding it. Inevitable, like the definition said.
So, just real quickly, brothers, wanted to just ask, correlating with what the officers bringing, what the Officer Mike is bringing out, what scripture would you all go to correlate with that story? There's a scripture that I'm looking for, specific scripture that correlates with that whole story that the officer just brought out. See who's thinking. Okay, Joshua, he had his hands up first. There's going to be a time also where you officers not going to be able to answer questions, man, because yeah, that's just off, bro. That's cheating.
I might be wrong, but I was just thinking just the Ciroc 2 that he was bringing up.
Okay, that's not really what we're looking for, but let me hear the brother in the back.
Get the first Maccabees, 253.
No. All right, let me hear. I'm a rival. You a soldier or you an officer? Soldier. Okay, I understand.
Shalom, Bishop. Ciroc 22, 21 and 2.
No, you're not getting it. It correlates with what the story. Keep in mind, Joseph is doing things that's for the Lord, right? And I don't want to give it away. And the men that every situation he's getting into, the Most High is still looking out for him. He's making the people deal with him righteously. I'm not trying to give it away. I just did. All right, let me hear the brother right there with the glasses. What's your name, brother? Soldier Uzziah. All right, Soldier Uzziah, give it to us.
I'm not sure what the chapter of scripture, but is it when a man's ways pleasing unto the Lord?
Okay. Very good. Proverbs, write this in your Bible, Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. All right? Proverbs 16 and 7. Yeah, read that for me.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
Guess what? The enemies is the other nations. All right? The enemies are the other nations. He's going to make the other nations deal with you right, because guess what? Your ways are pleasing him. Okay? So, that's all I had, officer.
All right.